Hi everybody, thanks for coming to the Preferred Adventure Center for another Trailblazer Tuesday. Today we're going to start a little time management series. I'm hoping to do like 3 or 4 of these, okay? But what we're going to start with is, I don't know what I actually call this. This is a square. Good one, Roger. Thank you. And if we cut it in 4 pieces, they would be called what, Roger?
4 squares.
Quadrants.
4 squares.
Whatever. Okay. You know, we've all had this thing happen in our days where we think, okay, we need to get something done. And then we check our Facebook, and then we get a call from so-and-so, and we do this and do that. Not that I'm saying don't check your Facebook. I didn't say that, okay? But anyways, and the end of the day comes, and we feel like we didn't accomplish anything. And then I've had days where I went home, and we all probably have, and you felt like you accomplished a lot, and then when somebody asks you, well, what'd you do? You can really only think of one thing, maybe 2. And you're wondering, wonder why I felt so accomplished. Well, I think this is why, okay? In our lives, most of the time, the things can be divided up. The things we have to do in a day can be divided up into 4 different things. There are things that are either urgent or important, all right? So in this quadrant is the things that are not urgent and not important, all right? And then over here are things that are urgent but not important. And then down here we end up with things that are both urgent and important. Whatever. Thank you.
Same with that one.
They're Ugin, you know? All right. It's urgent that I fix that. All right. Okay, so you have urgent and important, and then the last one is not urgent but important. Okay? Now here's the thing. When they study people's use of their time, we know for sure that the majority of the time in a person's day is spent right here. Not urgent, not important. There are those things that come up that we just want to do. All right? These are the things we haven't really thought of. They interrupt your day, but they're kind of fun, and we all enjoy doing them, and that's where we end up spending most of our day. Then the next most popular quadrant is the urgent but not important. This is somebody is telling you they need it right now, but in the course of your life, they really don't matter that much. Now, hopefully we spent some time in the things that are urgent and important. Those usually get some attention because they're urgent. You see this urgent thing, that gets our attention. It doesn't necessarily need to be real. We have to feel like it's urgent, but it may not actually be urgent at all. And something that some people would put forth the idea that if it's not important, it by definition is not urgent, okay, because it doesn't really matter. And then there's this quadrant down here, not urgent, but important. Now, if you take the time to actually think about the things you want to do in your life, or your this year, or this month, or this week, or today, you'll find that the things that actually make a difference are almost always right here. It's not terribly important or terribly urgent. Nobody's going to say anything to me if I don't say something sweet to my wife today, but it might be really, really, really important, okay? Whether you take time to read this book or not is definitely not urgent. That book's not going to yell at you if you don't read it, but it could be really, really, really important. These things you're probably going to do just because they're fun, and everything with this urgent in front of it's going to get done because somebody's yelling at you for it. But if every day you don't get something done in this quadrant, at the end of the day, you're going to feel like you didn't do anything important. Okay? And those days when you feel like you did something, but you can only remember a thing or two, it's probably because you did something, maybe I learned, that might be important for me to learn some better English, right here, okay? So, now, I'm not quite done with this point, because the other thing that goes right along with this is, I was going to use an illustration of a balloon, but I couldn't find a balloon, so you're going to have to imagine. I got a balloon here, okay? If I got this balloon and I push on it with my hands, I can probably make it pop. But I'm probably going to have to push kind of hard. And if the balloon's not blowing up very tight, I probably have to push real hard and I might not be able to make it pop. But if I take a pin and I stick it in that balloon, it pops like that, because it's small and it's focused, all right? Don't know if you've ever had your foot stepped on by a cow or something like that, but you can take a lot of weight, spread it out over a large area, and if it's a big animal, whatever it is, people have their feet run over by a car and their foot won't break sometimes. But you take a little smaller animal like a deer, doesn't have near as much weight, but its hoof is about that big and it steps on your foot, it'll almost for sure break your foot because it's a lot of weight in a small area. So that falls into this right here. Coming up on a new year, right? The idea is if you have one thing, if you can find that one thing that really matters and you put some energy behind that one thing at that one point, you can really get something important done. And when you look, the judgment of what those important things are, sure, some of them are like, they're so obvious. I mean, got to say something nice to my wife today, all right? But if you look at your list of stuff to do, the question is, what on this list that if I do it will make as many other things on this list either unimportant or I don't have to do them anymore. And then do that one thing, okay? Because it'll eliminate a whole bunch of other things on the list. That's how you figure out what's important. So, we're coming up on a new year. I challenge you to start the year off by saying, what's the one thing that if I get done this year will make so many other things in my life, either they'll automatically be done or they're not really important anymore because I got that one thing done. And that one thing for the year might be a kind of big thing. So then you have to say, what one thing this month? If I get this one thing done this month, what really matters? What's that one thing I can do that makes everything else either unimportant or unnecessary? All right? And then at the beginning of week, this is one of the ideas of that weekly commit sheet that we pass around. Every week we're supposed to write down the one thing we're going to do this week. Every week, pick one thing. If I'm going to get one thing done this week, what does that one thing have to be? And then when you plan your day, and I know sometimes in different positions, different things, we can't all plan a day, but most of us can probably look at our list of things we need to do and say, what's that one thing I have to get done today? And almost always those one things should be in this not urgent, important. And if you can get that one thing done, you'll find a whole lot of this other stuff falls into place. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so look for that one. There's actually a whole book out there called That One Thing, but you don't have to read the whole book necessarily if you really just believe me. You're good. Now to that nice thing for my wife, okay? 36 years ago today, we had our first date. Awesome. I picked her up. Her dad tried to scare me off really, really bad. She's wearing, let's say, light brown or dark tan pants and this frilly off-white shirt. She had, her hair looked just about like they do now, but a little longer and a little curlier, and we went to this dance at Fort Recovery, drove through the snow, and I did end up in the ditch across from her dad's house, and he had to pull me out, which he thought was really, really, really funny. I was 18 and she was 16. and we got done dancing, square dancing. And back then, when you square danced, all right? So and I pull up a chair and sit down, and this little 16-year-old blonde girl plops down on my lap, flicks her hair around, brushes across my nose, tickled, I thought she was going to knock out of contact, and pecks me on the cheek. Now, the really funny part is after 36 years, she doesn't know it, but the next night I had a date with a different girl. I picked that girl up at 8 o'clock and I dropped her off at 9:30. The girl got out of the car and said, "What went wrong?" And I, honest to God, I told her, nothing went wrong, it's just the last night went so right. So, I'd be lying, everybody know I'd be lying if I said that every day since that date was a fairy tale, but I'd be lying if and everybody know I'd be lying if I said I would be here without you either, babe. Thanks. So, remember, life's never going to be a walk in the park, so don't just go on a walk, go on an adventure. Thanks for coming to Trailblazer Tuesday at the Preferred Adventure Center. Did end up in the ditch across from her dad's house, and he had to pull me out, which he thought was really, really, really funny. I was 18 and she was 16, and we got done dancing, square dancing. And back then, when you square danced, all right? So and I pull up a chair and sit down, and this little 16-year-old blonde girl plops down on my lap, flicks her hair around, brushes across my nose, tickled, I thought she was going to knock out of contact, and pecks me on the cheek. Now, the really funny part is after 36 years, she doesn't know it, but the next night I had a date with a different girl. I picked that girl up at 8 o'clock and I dropped her off at 9:30. The girl got out of the car and said, "What went wrong?" And I, honest to God, I told her, nothing went wrong, it's just the last night went so right. So, I'd be lying, everybody know I'd be lying if I said that every day since that date was a fairy tale, but I'd be lying and everybody know I'd be lying if I said I would be here without you either, babe. Thanks. So, remember, life's never going to be a walk in the park, so don't just go on a walk, go on an adventure. Thanks for coming to Trailblazer Tuesday at the Preferred Adventure Center.